Now we go on to race number 7 of 25 today. It's Heat 1 for DD2 and DD2 Masters. Let's have a look at your starting grid. After time qualifying, it was David Altlechner that took pole position overall. He will line up alongside Rasmus van der Voort on the front row, with Martin van Leeuwen and Carl Gustav Borgaard on row number 2. Enzo Bol and the returning Martin Henkel Mortensen, our inaugural DD2 champion for the Euro Trophy back in 2018. That is row 3. Jakob Bezel joined by Axel Sarniala on row 4. Completing the top 10, Jules Cousin and Patrick Snolls-Lock-Mellis. Dennis Thum not only takes pole position for DD2 Masters, he starts on the inside of row number 6, alongside Austria's Manuel Tenchert, Nicolas Guillaume, Maxime Sechurko, Ville Villainen, Capitain, Christophe Capitain. Then we've got Philip Moitzi, Victor Frospe, Yannick Nielsen, and Nicolas Picot rounding out the top 20. Sebastian Schul, Peter Bezel, Leonardo Baccaglini, Ilias Kaliakmanis, Martina Stankiewicz, Carl Klebro, Michael Becker. Then we have got Jere Kokalainen, Igor Mukin, Tony Hogg, Kuba Kubera. Then we've also got the 31, that is Camille Kubera and Maxime Dirix. And we have one non-starter. That driver, Lucas Parnot, taken ill last night. Hopefully, Lucas, you get well soon. So 32 drivers will take to the start as they make their way towards the start-finish straight. So Altlechner now moving up to DD2 after seniors last year. Leads the field along with Rasmus van der Voort on the front row. Red lights on the starting gantry. Due to get things underway. Revs rise, lights are out, we're underway. Good start by Altlechner. Martin van Leeuwen, the 24-year-old Dutchman based out of Zolder, is in second. Enzo Bol leads the rest of the train in third place. Bit of a difficult start for Rasmus van der Voort, who now finds himself in 5th position behind Carl Gustav Borgaard, who's a countryman from Denmark. There is Michael Becker trying to keep Martina Stankiewicz at bay. The leaders making their way through turn number 8 as we speak. And Enzo Bol is catching them up. So out of the final corner. So Altlechner leading by just over 0.17 seconds. Enzo Bol 4/10 behind the race leader. Carl Gustav Borgaard, Rasmus van der Voort, Martin Henkel Mortensen, Axel Sarniala, Jakob Bezel, Patrick Snolls-Lock-Mellis, Manuel Tenchert, Jules Cousin rounds out the top 10. Now leading in DD2 Masters, it is Nicolas Picot, the 517 based out of Bordeaux, the 31-year-old Frenchman, now is leading in DD2 Masters, currently 13th. 15th is Dennis Thum, who is just behind Lithuania's Maxime Sechurko. Thum is currently second in the DD2 Masters classification. 5 minutes and 21 seconds on the clock, plus an additional lap still to go. And there is a bit of a train. It's the Axel Sarniala train. He's got behind him Patrick Snolls-Lock-Mellis. Jakob Bezel is there. So is Jules Cousin. Lock-Mellis fires it up the inside of the 469 from Finland. The 20-year-old based out of Espoo, and Axel Sarniala is getting a bit manhandled, so to speak. 4 minutes and 48 seconds still to go. 4 minutes and 22 seconds on the clock still to go, and now battles up and down the order. As a little bit of a moment there for Manuel Tencher coming into the final corner. He was sideways in front of Dennis Toom, but manages to hold his nerve and his composure. But David Altlechner and Martin van Leuven have kept themselves at the front of the field. They were 85 thousandths of a second apart after what was lap number 3. Enzo Bol is just under 6 tenths off of the race leader as they bump their way through into turn number 8. Now halfway through the race as they make their way into turn number 12. Altlechner a little bit loose on the back end coming out of that corner, but still manages to keep the racing line in front of Van Leuven, who's trying to look for his opportunity to strike. Maxime Drix has been making his way from the back end of the field and now is up to 22nd out of 32. Nice little bit of a move there. That was the 4:23. Jakob Bezel on the returning Dane of Martin Henkel Mortensen, who I spoke to earlier on this week, and he said, yeah, I'm just, hopefully my car for Danish Super GT will be ready, but this is just for me, just a way to keep the reflexes and racing skills sharp, and that's not a bad idea to come back to the roots. Now Altlechner finds himself in second, but he little bit of a bounce off of the sidewalls between the two leaders. Altlechner and Van Leuven swapped the lead twice in the last couple of corners, and Altlechner gets back through. Enzo Bol is about 8 tenths of a second away from this. Rasmus Vendelbo is quickly closing on the youngster from the Netherlands. Jakob Bezel is the fastest driver out there, 53.954 seconds. As Van Leeuwen is now looking to move up the inside, and he does so. He does a Danny Rick, licks the stamp and sends it through on the inside of the driver based out of Bargoed in Wales these days. David now running in Rotax Poland and Rotax CEE this year. But with 1 minute and 35 on the clock to go, there's still time for things to change. And Altlechner is still giving chase. It's good pressure that the young Polish driver is giving to the experienced driver from Zolder. And there has been a change in terms of DD2 Masters because Dennis Toom has now made his way up to 12th overall. And well, it's not him that's leading, it's Christophe Capitain now who is leading. So it was a German on pole position, a leader from France, and now another leader from France, because Christophe Capitain has just set a personal best. He's actually looking a little bit faster than the driver behind him in the 577. As a move from Patrick Snols-Lockmelis, that was on Carl Gustav Borgaard for 6th place, so the Latvian gets through. So at this point, we are on the penultimate lap of this race. Nearly a slight unforced error from Martin van Leeuwen. Enzo Bol is closing in. So is Denmark's Rasmus Vendelbo. So it's going to be a core set of drivers competing for the win. 8 tenths of a second separated them after 7 laps of racing. We're close to completing lap number 8 as Van Leeuwen goes on the defensive out of the final corner. Could this give the opportunity for Altlechner to slingshot past? The Polish driver is going to get through on the run down to turns 1 and 2. No counter-attack possible for the 403 from Sheepers Racing. Enzo Bol has been steadily closing in on the duo behind, and he's brought along Rasmus Vendelbo with him. The top 4 were covered by just over 5.5 tenths of a second. So this time around, it's going to be very, very close indeed. Who is going to pick up the win? Is it going to be Outleichner, Van Leeuwen? Could it be Enzo Bol or Rasmus van der Voort? It is going to be a very, very busy time in this last corner. But Outleichner is going to power out of it. And the driver from Poland is going to win in DD2 by 1.18 tenths of a second. Ahead of Martin van Leeuwen, Enzo Bol, and Rasmus van der Voort complete a very, very close top four, covered by just under 7 tenths of a second at the flag. So Jakob Bezel takes P5, and also with it, the fastest lap of the race. Patrick Snolslock-Mellis got past Carl Gustav Borgaard for 7th position, ahead of Martin Henkel Morrison, Axel Saniala, and Christophe Capitain. The 599, based out of La Neuville in France, takes the win in DD2 Masters. 10th overall, Jules Cousin and Dennis Thum ran at the top 12, ahead of Manuel Tenchert, Maxim Sachurko, Peter Bezel, Yannick Nielsen, Philip Moisy, and Nicolas Guillaume running at the top 18. Nicolas Picot in 19th, ahead of Maxime Dirix, with Victor Frospe, Martina Stankiewicz, Sebastian Shaw, Leonardo Baccaglini, Vili Viliainen, Ilias Kaliakmanis, Michael Becker, Karl Klebor, Igor Mukin, Jericho Kalainen, Tony Hogg, and Camille Kubera rounding out the 32 strong, all within 15.8 seconds of each other. And a non-starter, and might be out for the rest of the weekend. A real shame for Canada's Lucas Pownall from KR Sport. So with 32 DD2 and DD2 Masters drivers taking to the circuit for their first of 3 heats, it would be a case of who would triumph, not just in the DD2 class, but also in the DD2 Masters field. It was Outleichner and Van der Voort on the front row, and the Polish driver in the 465 would lead the field underway into racing, with Enzo Bol in third, Rasmus van der Voort trying to get round the outside early doors on Carl Gustav Borgaard and made that move stick. And also a move by, looks to be, that is the 599 of Christophe Capitain to get past Austria's Manuel Tenchert, who ended up inadvertently in the way of Dennis Thum from Germany, as Capitain and Thum were battling for the DD2 Masters class lead. And a little bit of signalling between Martin Henkel Morrison and the 423 of Bezel. But then the battle really started intensifying at the front end of the field between Martin van Leeuwen and one of the younger generation of DD2 drivers coming through the ranks, David Outleichner. A little bounce of sidewalls between the two allowed Outleichner to get through on the final corner. Van Leeuwen would then counter-attack through turn number 7 and make his way through back into the race lead. Some battling a little bit further down the order, especially with the likes of a couple of drivers, including the 424 from SP Motorsport. That would be Leonardo Baccaglini, the young Italian, making his Euro Trophy debut last year in Marienburg. Patrick Snolslock-Mellis provided a great overtake up the inside of turn 2 on Denmark's Carl Gustav Borgaard, managing to keep himself within the top 6. But it was Outleichner that would use this move to get himself back into the race lead, ahead of Martin van Leeuwen, with Enzo Bol and Rasmus van der Voort closing in. And at the end of it all, Outleichner took the win, Van Leeuwen took second, Bol third, van der Voort in fourth, and Christophe Capitain would take the win in the